Upon his arrival at Kuramed Hospital, he found Mohbad laid out with cotton in his nostrils and ears. Unable to accept the sudden death, he proposed transferring him to another hospital, Perez Hospital. There, efforts to revive Mohbad with oxygen and CPR failed. Doctors informed the group that Mohbad had been dead for about 2 hours. Once again, unable to accept the sudden bye, he proposed transferring him to another hospital, Perez Hospital. There, efforts to revive Mohbad with oxygen and CPR failed. Doctors informed the group that Mohbad had been pied for about 2 hours. The body was transported back to the residence where Darosha encountered Mohbad's father. Heated disagreements ensued regarding immediate burial. Despite pleas from artists like Bella Shmurda and Zlatan, the father insisted on burial that night. IW10 further testified that he received 2 million from Davido intended for funeral expenses. He transferred 1 million to Mohbad's father and the remaining balance to Adura. He expressed dissatisfaction with the location chosen for burial in Ikorodu, describing it as remote and unbefitting. Touts reportedly attacked them at the burial ground. He later contributed another 1 million naira for fencing and security around the grave. Under cross-examination by Mr. Shitu Wahab San, IW10 further testified and confirmed that Mohbad was healthy before and during the show. Affirmed that the injury sustained was minor but untreated. Agreed that untreated injuries could potentially be fatal. Acknowledged that a nurse administered injections but was unaware of the type. Unable to specify that treatment was given at either Kuramed or Perez Hospital. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogunbono. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogunbono. Denied that Mohbad performed first at the show, placing his performance around 9 to 10 p.m. Provided detailed seating arrangements in the Prado vehicles. Confirmed witnessing the scuffle from a distance and running after Prime Boy. Denied that other members of the team, such as OG and Spending, sustained visible injuries. Emphasized that the argument between Mohbad and his wife had started from home. By Mrs. Abiodun Kolawole, clarified that the scuffle witnessed was a physical altercation and not just verbal. Estimated the scuffle occurred between 11 p.m. and midnight. Explained that Prime Boy fled upon seeing him and Adura return with the money. Rejected the claim that he was in the viral video announcing Mohbad's buy in the vehicle, stating he was inside speaking with doctors at that time. By Mr. OSA Aromolao, affirmed he took control of post-death arrangements out of loyalty and relationship, criticized the competence of the hospital staff, and failed to request detailed medical explanations for Mohbad's buy. Described an encounter with the nurse who admitted to administering a tetanus injection and was visibly distraught. By Mr. Kabir Akingbola, reiterated that Prime Boy and Mohbad had a history of fights, including in his Darosha's house. Indicated that CCTV at the house had not been functioning for some months and the landlord had been uncooperative. Acknowledged failure to obtain video or photographic documentation from the scuffle. Stated that police investigations later visited the residence but he was unaware of the outcome. By Mrs. Z.S. Makinde, stated that the event was for an alcoholic herbal drink promotion, confirmed consumption of the drink but denied being intoxicated, identified the nurse as Ishara, whom he met only on the day of the incident, confirmed only one of Mohbad's two phones, iPhone 14 Pro Max, was in police custody. Cross-examination by Mr. David Nowoola affirmed that security at the venue did not prevent the fight due to their assignment to protect the general show, not individual artists. Confirmed Mohbad sprayed money to fans despite being injured. Recounted that the nurse mentioned administering a tetanus injection, but no other details were provided. By Mr. Olawale Adeniyi, reaffirmed that Mohbad had no underlying health conditions apart from the injury. Nurse claimed the injections were for pain in the hand. Darosha admitted nearly assaulting the nurse due to frustration and disbelief. Testimony of Ogedengbe Feyishayo, auxiliary nurse, IW11. Please, guys, let us answer. We're going to the testimony of the nurse. Let's pass over. Let's go. Testimony of Ogedengbe Feyishayo, in brackets auxiliary nurse, IW11. Ogedengbe Feyishayo, a self-described auxiliary nurse who trained at Cornerstone Hospital, Akute, between 2014 and 2017, appeared before the coroner's court in connection with the death of the Pai of Ilerioluwa Alaba, popularly known as Mohbad. She confirmed that on the 12th of March 2025, she had signed a written 2023 rather. She had signed a written deposition which she adopted as her evidence before the court. In her testimony, in her testimony, IW11 narrated that on the 11th of September 2023, she was contacted by a certain spending, Abayomi Sodiq, to administer a tetanus injection to Mohbad, who reportedly had a cut in his hand. IW11 explained that she initially resisted because she had not seen the extent of the wound, requesting a photo of the injury before deciding what medication to procure. Despite her hesitation, she eventually received a photo shortly before arriving at the estate and proceeded with her visit. Upon her arrival, IW11 was led upstairs to meet Mohbad and his wife, Wumi. She described observing that Mohbad's right arm was swollen. She proceeded to administer a series of injections, including tetanus on his upper left arm via intramuscular route, paracetamol for pain relief, and ceftriaxone as an antibiotic. According to IW11, Mohbad remained alert and communicative during this time, asking questions about each medication. She also confirmed that his wife was present and actively engaged in the process, even stating familiarity with the medications. Shortly after administering the ceftriaxone injection, Mohbad began to show signs of a reaction. He became nauseous and went to vomit. After vomiting, he returned and sat on the floor. IW11 further testified that she observed goosebumps on his body and immediately informed the wife of the unusual reaction. At that point, the wife told IW11 that Mohbad usually reacts to injections and becomes fine once water is poured on him. Following this revelation, IW11 criticized the wife for not disclosing this information earlier and quickly left with the DJ spending to get hydrocortisone injection from a nearby pharmacy. Under cross-examination by Dr. Wahab Shitu San, she admitted to administering injections without conducting any prior diagnosis. She was not a certified doctor or a pharmacist and acknowledged her limited awareness of the potential side effects of the medications used. Dr. Shitu listed numerous side effects such as vomiting, dizziness, diarrhea, rash, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and kidney damage associated with ceftriaxone and paracetamol, to which she responded with varying degree of ignorance. He accused her of potentially contributing to Mohbad's death through medical negligence. IW11 denied the accusation but admitted that she did not consider or know of the full risk before administering the injections. When confronted about the series of events, IW10 affirmed that Mohbad was conscious throughout and that she made efforts to mitigate his reaction by seeking hydrocortisone. She also acknowledged that a delay occurred in getting the medicine due to the unavailability of a vehicle and pharmacy stock. She left Mohbad with his wife, not knowing what transpired in her absence. By the time she returned, he was already being conveyed out of the house. Under cross-examination by O.F. Okuwobi, she clarified that her visit was based on information received from Spending and Ayobami, which implied the case involved a mere hand cut. She maintained that the treatment she brought was general and appropriate for such an injury. IW10, sorry, IW10 reiterated that although she should have asked more questions regarding allergies, the people around, especially the wife, also had a responsibility to inform her of Mohbad's sensitivity to injections. IW10 noted that Mohbad was coherent and communicative throughout her treatment, even inquiring about the injections. Feishaya also explained that the reaction began only after the administration of the third injection, ceftriaxone. Despite the reactions, she confirmed Mohbad did not convulse in her presence. It was only while returning from the pharmacy that they received word that he had begun convulsing. Further cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole focused on her academic background and nursing experience. IW11 admitted to having only O levels and training as an auxiliary nurse for 3 years, followed by 1 year of hospital work and then home services. She confirmed that Mohbad was communicative during the injections and recalled his questions about the medications. IW11 ended her testimony by stating that by the time she returned from the second pharmacy, Mohbad had already been taken outside, shirtless, and placed in a vehicle. She was unable to administer the hydrocortisone injection. She accompanied the wife in the front seat of the car. Testimony of Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola Naira Mali. Ladies and gentlemen, we must get to 1 million likes because this show, we're going to have it throughout the entire weekend. So let's keep on tapping. Motivates me by me seeing the taps increase. Thank you. Testimony of Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola Naira Mali, IW12. On the 21st of March 2025, Mr. Abdulaziz Fashola, known publicly as Naira Mali, appeared before the coroner's court via virtual hearing to provide evidence in an inquest into the death of Ilere Oluwa Oladimeji Aloba Mohbad. He introduced himself as a recording artist and musician residing at, I'm not going to mention his address. He adopted his written deposition on oath dated 20th March 2025 as his formal testimony. In that deposition, he referenced stamps in his international passport showing exit from Nigeria via Muritala Mohammed International Airport on 31st August 2023, arrival in Amsterdam on 1st September 2023, return to Nigeria on 3rd October 2023. These passport pages were tendered and admitted as exhibits before the coroner. Counsel for Mohbad's family. Counsel for Mohbad's family, Dr. Wahab Shitu San, commenced the cross-examination by reminding the witness that he had sworn on the Quran, implying moral and religious obligation to tell the truth. He noted that the witness's statement was silent about key events between December 2019 and September 2022, when Mohbad was signed to his label, Malian Music. Naira Marley confirmed that he had not elaborated on that period in his statement. When asked whether he had submitted a copy of the contract between himself and Mohbad, he admitted he had not. He acknowledged signing Mohbad to his label because he recognized his talent. He stated that Mohbad left the label due to a disagreement with his manager, not with him personally. He clarified that when the disagreement became apparent during a group chat, he advised Mohbad that he could change his manager. After a physical fight occurred between Mohbad and the manager, IW said he was called from the studio and came out to intervene. He denied reporting the incident to the police. When asked about the alleged non-payment of contractual obligations, objections were raised and sustained. That regarding viral videos allegedly showing Mohbad expressing fear for his life and blaming IW12, he denied that any such videos involved him or depicted threats from him. He acknowledged public perception and viral content suggesting his involvement, but maintained he never threatened Mohbad and had not seen him in over a year since he left Malian Music. IW12 on this issue of Sam Larry confirmed knowing him, but denied that Sam Larry worked for him or Malian Music. He also denied knowing of any assault by Sam Larry on Mohbad, despite a widely circulated video. He insisted Sam Larry was not affiliated with Malian Music. He strongly denied exploiting Mohbad financially. IW12 explained that his decision to appear via virtual hearing was due to security threats he had received in Lagos. He claimed to have received death threats and believed there wasn't adequate security for him to safely attend court in person. On whether his actions caused emotional distress that contributed to Mohbad's death, he replies that the allegations were false and emphasized his cooperation with the police, including being in detention for 2 months at Klanti, Lagos. He denied that Mohbad ever filed any official police report against him. IW12 also revealed that Mohbad's family, his father, mother, and an imam came to beg him in person over the video in which Mohbad had said if anything happened to him, Naira Marley and others should be held responsible. According to Naira Marley, Mohbad later apologized privately, and he had video evidence of these apologies. When asked why Mohbad would make such serious allegations if he was not afraid, Naira Marley attributed it to Mohbad being under the influence or in a mentally unstable state. He added that at the time he helped Mohbad get medical attention, paying for hospital bills and supporting him out of concern. IW12 further argued that Mohbad was never afraid of him, citing examples of Mohbad releasing disc tracks, laughing online about Malian Music, and operating freely after leaving the label. He emphasized that there was no ongoing relationship between them after the exit from the label. IW12 was further cross-examined by Mr. M.A. Salahuddin, counsel to Ayobami Sadiq, aka Spenning, questioned why Naira Marley had stated in his deposition that certain individuals may have spent Mohbad's last moments with him when he admitted never meeting them. Naira Marley insisted the language may have was speculative and not a confirmation. OSA Aramolahon, counsel to the Nigerian Bar Association, Ikorodu branch, probed Naira Marley on the clout and influence he claimed not to have caused anyone's death. He tried to draw the implication that Naira Marley distinguished himself from those who might have much influence. Naira Marley maintained that he lacked any will or ability to harm or contract harm on another person. He further questioned the legality of Mohbad's contract, implying it might have lacked proper corporate form, e.g., two directors. Naira Marley claimed the contract was drafted by his UK lawyer, emailed to Nigeria, and signed by both him and Mohbad after both parties' lawyers reviewed it. When asked whether any formal legal dispute arose from Mohbad's exit, Naira Marley denied it, reiterating that there was no issues between them, only between Mohbad and his manager. On why he was detained for over 2 months, he claimed it was due to public pressure, not because of any evidence. He confirmed filing a fundamental rights lawsuit to Lagos Island High Court over his detention, not to exonerate himself, but to reclaim his liberty. When reminded that Ajishebiri Sultan DJ Bami had testified to seeing Naira Marley with Mohbad in June 2023 at a club in Victoria Island, Naira Marley denied ever seeing Mohbad after the original dispute and maintained that he had not seen him for over a year. Witness Mr. Oluwasomi Falade. Okay, so profession, legal practitioner, barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Role, personal lawyer to the deceased, Mohbad. Relationship to deceased, legal counsel and private client relationship. So this is the witness of lawyer of Mohbad. Evidence in chief. Mr. Oluwasomi Falade appeared before the coroner to provide his account of legal services rendered to the late Ileri Oluwaloba Mohbad. He testified under oath that he had acted as Mohbad's personal lawyer on various matters prior to the singer's death and had no business with Mohbad's record label, Malian Music. He affirmed that he met Mohbad in person and maintained both in-person and remote communication with the deceased. On numerous occasions, Mohbad consulted him for legal advice, contract review, and representation. That one of the most prominent episodes recalled by the witness was the preparation and submission of a petition on behalf of Mohbad dated 27th June 2023, and addressed to the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 2, Headquarters, Onikon, Lagos. The petition detailed a violent assault incident at Elegushi Beach on 25th June 2023, in which Mohbad was allegedly attacked during a video shoot by Sam Larry and his gang, who according to the petition, used dangerous weapons and forcibly disrupted the shoot. Mr. Falade explained that in the petition, Mohbad also mentioned a history of threats, previous harassment, and a general state of fear for his life. He stated that Mohbad narrated how he had been persistently followed up at Zone 2 Onikon. He was surprised when the police failed to take prompt action, despite video evidence and formal complaints. IW13 noted that after filing the petition, Mohbad remained deeply worried about his safety and felt unsupported by security agencies. Expressing fears of being ambushed, harmed, or even spied, he disclosed that the singer repeatedly asked him to find ways to ensure his safety, including discussing the possibility of filing a fundamental human rights suit for protection of life and property. IW13 explained that beyond the Zone 2 petition, he advised Mohbad on several legal options, including filing a civil suit for damages against his former record label, seeking judicial intervention in the form of a restraining order, exploring criminal complaints and follow-ups with higher police authorities, formalizing a legal disengagement process to remove the singer from all past obligations. He recalled that Mohbad remained anxious and hesitant about pursuing civil suits, fearing retaliation or further isolation in the music industry. The artist expressed that he was receiving little or no help from the authorities, and that even his colleagues were distancing themselves from him. Mr. Falade said that in one of their final conversations, Mohbad sounded emotionally distressed and paranoid, describing feeling haunted, betrayed, and cornered. Under cross-examination, the witness maintained composure and reiterated the authenticity of the petition file. He including video footage, photographs, and voice notes. When asked about the status of the litigation at the time of Mohbad's fight, Mr. Falade confirmed that no civil case had been filed yet, but plans were ongoing to pursue one when Mohbad died. IW13 clarified that Mohbad had no ongoing criminal case or arrestings of abandonment. He reaffirmed that the deceased sought help through legal and institutional channels. The police had sufficient information to act but failed to do so. Mohbad was under severe emotional and psychological pressure before his fight. IW13 confirmed that an assault occurred and was formally reported. He described the police inaction as a source of emotional deterioration. He emphasized that legal mechanisms failed the deceased. Uh, okay, guys, we have stopped tapping. We have stopped tapping. We have stopped tapping. Let's get these likes to 1 million. Now, the next testimony is testimony of Dr. Nwam Okereke Eze, Chief Forensic Pathologist. So we are going to the second autopsy. Give me 2 minutes. But by that time, please let's keep on tapping. 2 minutes, I'll be back. 2 minutes, please. Eniobu, if you are there, continue. Just give me 2 minutes.
wèrè wòrè yé Harris ayé ẹ ti bàjẹ́ òfò ṣe é. yé sí iye olórí burúkú bó ṣe dún bí ẹ̀rọ ọlọ́gì tí ẹ ti bàjẹ́ Harris kàràjì kó. Put up what you want. One more. Somebody can see. One more. ayé ẹ ti bàjẹ́ ṣé mo ní kan sí olórí burúkú kọ́mọ bọ́lá Aries ìyá ajá can I get one more jọba mi wá kan sí fún mi lè tó kùn jọ Aries one more jọ fún mi kan sí Slamanta fún mi kan sí jẹ́ kó kéjáko olórí burúkú tó bá ń báyàn gbé ló yẹ kán wá tààpù ẹ ọ̀dà nìkan gbé inú pálọ̀ bí ẹranko kò ní yẹ ó máa. wèrèwòrè yé Aries ayé ẹ ti bàjẹ́ òfò ṣí ẹ. yèsí iye olórí burúkú bó ṣe dún bí ẹ̀rọ ọlọ́gì tí ẹ ti bàjẹ́ nìsín kálájí kó. Put up what you want. One more. Ṣé mo rí kan sí? One more. Ayé ẹ ti bàjẹ́. Ṣé mo rí kan sí? Olórí burúkú. One more. Bọ́lá. Aries. Ìyá ajá. Can I get one more? Jọba mi wá kan sí. Fún mi lè tó kùn jọ. Aries one more. Jọ fún mi kan sí. Slamanta fún mi kan sí. Jẹ́ kó kéjáko olórí burúkú tó bá ń báyàn gbé ló yẹ kán wá tààpù ẹ ọ̀dà nìkan gbé inú pálọ̀ bí ẹranko kò ní yẹ ó máa. wèrèwòrè yé Aries ayé ẹ ti bàjẹ́ òfò ṣí ẹ. yèsí iye olórí burúkú bó ṣe dún bí ẹ̀rọ ọlọ́gì tí ẹ ti bàjẹ́ kálájí kó.
I'm back. Okay. So guys, let's keep on power tapping. Like I said, let's get to 1 million likes. This is not the end. We're just this is just the final CTC. Coming up tomorrow, we'll be having the CTCs of the other days, the ones of last year's, the ones we missed. Okay, so where am I? What I'm reading has just about 80 pages. We're in page 7. Okay, so let's go. Testimony of Dr. Unwan Okereke is a chief forensic pathologist. Second autopsy report by the expert forensic examiner, Dr. Unwan Okereke Eze, a consultant at University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan, made his appearance particularly weighty. IW14 took the witness box and was led in examination in chief by Dr. Wahab Shitu San. His credentials were first laid before the court. He had received medical training at the University of Ibadan, completed his specialty in anatomical pathology, followed by subspecialty training in forensic medicine at the Victorian Institute of Forensic Medicine, Melbourne, with additional international postings in the UK, University of Glasgow, and Mayo Clinic, USA. Since 2009, he had been serving as chief consultant forensic pathologist at UCH Ibadan and had been involved in hundreds of death investigations globally. Under direct examination, Dr. Eze carefully walked the court through the structure of his forensic report, highlighting the following. Pages 3 to 4, his professional resume. Page 5, the scope and description of the services rendered. Page 6 to 8, overview of available documents and referenced materials. Page 9 to 11, a review summary of the first autopsy report. Page 12, 13, observations and critique of that earlier autopsy. Page 14 to 19, his own second autopsy findings. Page 20, expert comments. Page 21 to 24, informed opinion. Page 25, summary. Appendixes 1 to 4, supporting documents including toxicology results and court orders authorizing the second autopsy. Dr. Eze further testified and explained that due to the state of the decomposition of the body at the time of the second autopsy, following burial and exhumation, special methodologies were required. 3 core techniques were applied to exclude trauma as a cause of death. Skull and dural scraping. He conducted a crack cut test, a method used to detect skull fractures by listening for changes in vibration, likening it to tapping a clay pot for cracks. No cranial trauma was found. Again, no cranial trauma was found. Spinal and neck examination. He examined the spinal column for signs of blunt force injury, particularly around the neck and base, and found no signs of trauma. Spinal cord dissection. Though significant autolysis had occurred, Dr. Eze confirmed there was no visible trauma to the spinal cord, and histological examination revealed only postmortem degradation, not injury. He concluded that no traumatic injury, head, spine, or elsewhere could be established from physical examination, given the body's condition. Toxicology analysis. The toxicology was another focal point. Dr. Eze classified the analysis into 3 drug categories: drug abuse substances, e.g., cannabis, cocaine, heroin, methadone; psychotropic medication such as risperidone; general over-the-counter medicines like paracetamol and antihistamines. That all results from the second toxicology test performed using muscle tissue samples, as no blood, urine, or gastric contents were available, were negative for all 3 categories. However, he did acknowledge a discrepancy. The first autopsy's toxicology had detected substances like diphenhydramine and antihistamine and acetaminophen, paracetamol, both of which he agreed could have been missed in his test due to the degradation of the muscle over time. He stated that I was challenging, but that's the reality of postmortem science in tropical environments. Postmortem interval was around 9 days before first autopsy and months before the second. When asked to give his medical opinion on the cause of death, Dr. Eze was deliberate, careful, and candid. He further explained that based strictly on anatomical evidence, no disease or pathology was demonstrable that could explain Mohbad's death. However, it was also clear this did not rule out disease. Rather, it meant that no disease could be proven with the available tissue due to decomposition. IW13 testified that from a clinical pathological perspective, he leaned towards the possibility of an anaphylactic reaction, a severe allergic reaction potentially caused by the injection Mohbad received prior to his collapse. While diphenhydramine, an allergy medication, was present in the first toxicology report, Dr. Eze acknowledged that even antihistamines can paradoxically cause allergic reactions in rare cases. Other antibiotics or painkillers, if improperly administered, would also trigger fatal anaphylaxis. There was no known history of illness. The deceased was not hospitalized or receiving treatment before this event. Based on everything before me, the plausible scenario is a rapid, possibly allergic reaction to an injected substance. But he mentioned a professional boundary. Speculation is not the job of a forensic pathologist. I rely on only on evidence, and I must conclude cause of death is anatomically undetermined. Manner of death, medical misadventure. Dr. Wahad Shibu pressed him further on the manner of death, not just the cause. Was it natural, accidental, or something else? Dr. Eze explained that while it is not always appropriate for a pathologist to state manner of death definitely, in this case, based on all findings and the context of unprescribed injections by a non-physician, it fits the intentional category known as medical misadventure. He referenced the WHO classification code Y69, which covers fatalities arising from unintended medical harm due to unapproved or improperly administered treatment. We were beaten by nature. Decomposition erased many clues, but many but what remains points to an unfortunate medical episode, possibly preventable, possibly triggered by poor practice, but no conclusive criminal act is detectable anatomically. IW14, still under cross-examination, confirmed to the court that he had been paid in full for his assignment. His role was neutral and scientific, not for advocacy. That both hospital autopsies and medico-legal forensic autopsies follow rigorous procedures, including consent protocols, evidence chain, and documentation standards. Under cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole, African Women Lawyers Association, Dr. Eze repeated the two-tiered system of autopsy, clinical versus forensic. He emphasized that in forensic autopsies, such as this one, authority comes from the coroner, not the family, and findings are reported to the court, not to the next of kin. When asked how many exhumed corpses he had worked on, Dr. Eze said he had performed thousands of autopsies, including exhibitions. He referenced his work with international disaster teams, including mass fatalities during the 2015 Nepal earthquake. He summarized the many branches of pathology: anatomical, chemical, microbiological, virology, hematology, confirming his microbiological confirming his specialty was in anatomical and forensic pathology, the father of all pathology branches. Testimony of Samson Balogun, aka Sami Larry, IW15. Evidence in chief. Mr. Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, testified in compliance with a court summons served on 21st August 2024. He confirmed under oath he deposed to a written deposition on the 10th of April 2024 and formally adopted it in court as his evidence. The written deposition was admitted into record. IW15 stated that his relationship with the late Mohbad was solely business related, often involving invitations to perform at shows. He recounted that he had paid Mohbad 2 million naira to perform at his birthday party in Dubai, but the singer failed to honor the commitment. This incident, he explained, led to significant disappointment and financial loss on his part, as he had made elaborate arrangements for the performance, including flight tickets and accommodation for Mohbad, his wife, and manager. Cross-examination by Mr. Wahab Shitu San, late counsel to the deceased father. Len Silk took the witness through a detailed examination of his past dealings with Mohbad, particularly the allegation of assault at Elegushi Beach on 25th June 2023. Sam Larry confirmed that he had approached Mohbad that day to demand repayment of the 2 million naira he paid for the Dubai show. He admitted saying, "You will not." Sorry. "You will not leave here without giving me my money." However, he denied threatening or assaulting the deceased, insisting that it was a verbal confrontation only. IW15 emphasized that the interaction ended without violence, and as Latan, another artist present at the scene, calmed the situation. He claimed the entire episode was captured in a 9-second video and that after the encounter, everybody went on to eat amala together peacefully. Sam Larry confirmed that a petition was filed against him by Mohbad following the beach incident, accusing him of molestation and harassment. He was detained briefly at Alagbon and later released. In response, he filed a counter petition denying the allegations and challenging Mohbad to produce evidence of assault or damage to any property, such as the camera allegedly broken. When pressed by Mr. Wahash, Sam Larry admitted that his confrontation could have come across as threatening, but insisted it was not meant as such. He denied ever laying hands on Mohbad. Cross-examination by Mrs. Abiodun Kolawole, counsel to the African Women Lawyer Association. Mrs. Kolawole focused her question on inconsistencies in the witness and narrative and his previous interaction with Mohbad. Sam Larry recounted that he had invited Mohbad for 3 or 4 shows, one in Dubai, January 7, 2027, 2021, another in Kenya, January 21, 2021, and one in Akure. He stated he paid 1 million for the Akure show and 2 million for the Dubai show. He claimed Mohbad had a good character and there had been no misunderstanding between them until the 2023 Dubai show debacle. Mrs. Kolawole questioned Sam Larry on several social media videos purportedly showing him beating Mohbad and intimidating him, especially at Chandelier Club and Elegushi Beach. Sam Larry denied all the allegations and insisted no such beating occurred. He maintained that that any viral video were either manipulated or misinterpreted. When asked about an individual named Sultan Ayobami Ajishegiri, Sam Larry initially denied knowing him, but later admitted knowledge of an individual involved in an altercation at the club who broke a bottle. He clarified that the person was chased out by the club bouncers, not beaten. On the issue of payment for shows, Sam Larry said the 2 million naira was paid into the account of the record label via an account number Mohbad personally sent him through Instagram. Although the account belonged to the label, he insisted Mohbad was liable for the refund since he initiated and approved the transaction. He denied any attempt to harm Mohbad, reiterating that after the Elegushi Beach confrontation, that they ate together and dispersed peacefully. Cross-examination by Mr. Kabir Akingbolu, counsel to the deceased wife and son. Mr. Akingbolu scrutinized the timelines of events and the nature of the counter-petition filed by Sam Larry. The witness acknowledged that the confrontation at Elegushi Beach happened on the 25th day of June 2023 and that he only wrote his counter-petition in July 2023 after Mohbad had already reported him. He confirmed being invited and detained by the police and that a surety secured his release. IW15 admitted the petition he filed was in reaction to what he considered false allegations from Mohbad, including claims of assault and destruction of property. When asked about the cause of Mohbad's death, Sam Larry stated that he was in Dubai when the incident occurred and he had no knowledge of the circumstances surrounding it. He advised that those who were with the deceased in the last 24 to 48 hours should be summoned for questioning. When the IW15 was questioned by the members of the public present in court, IW15 responded that he confirmed that he paid the 2 million naira in January 2023. He claimed he had proof of payment and he reiterated that the debt predated both the Chandelier Club and Elegushi Beach incidents. He denied beating Mohbad and also denied that any marks or bruises on the deceased were caused by him. He stated that the viral video where he was heard saying, "The dead do not rise," except in movies, was from 2013, not 2023, and that it was being wrongly used to malign him. He admitted to entering Mohbad's video shoot premises with the intent to confront him over the debt, but denied carrying any cane or physical weapon. When asked if the petition he filed was a reaction to a legitimate grievance or a retaliatory move, he claimed it was in defense of his reputation and a demand for evidence. IW15 insisted that his relationship with Mohbad was professional. He had no physical altercation with the deceased. His confrontation was verbal and centered solely on recovering a debt. Viral videos and accusations were either manipulated or taken out of context. He voluntarily ignored police invitations and filed a counter petition. He had no involvement in Mohbad's death and was not in Nigeria when the incident occurred. He believed those who were with Mohbad in the final hours should be interrogated for clarity. Despite being confronted with multiple inconsistencies and witness testimonies suggesting harassment, Sam Larry remained firm that he was innocent of all forms of intimidation or violence towards the lead singer. Testimony of Fidelis Esanko. Let me have it. Let's power tap, guys. Let's power tap, guys. We're staying on this 963 for too long. Testimony of Fidelis Esanko. Examination in chief by Dr. Wahab Shitu San. Mr. Fidelis Esanko recounted that his first encounter with Mohbad occurred on the day he was hired to transport him for a music event. He was contacted by an agent for the car hire job and directed to meet Mohbad at his residence on Orchard Road. On arrival, he waited for about 3 hours. Eventually, Mohbad came out accompanied by his wife and child. They entered Fidelis' car, waiting for a second private vehicle to join them. That when the second vehicle arrived, the convoy moved from Orchard Road to Oniru, where they met with a celebrity known as Chief Priest. From there, Fidelis drove Mohbad, his wife, and one friend to ShopRite to purchase some items. After that stop, both cars proceeded to the show venue in Ikorodu. That during the journey, Mohbad and his wife engaged in a heated argument, which Mr. Esakwa could not fully comprehend due to the language Yoruba. On arrival at the Ikorodu venue, the quarrel intensified. The wife expressed her frustration, stating that Mohbad was disgracing her and the child, and she threatened to leave. The group, including Fidelis, pleaded with her until she re-entered the car. Later, police officers and soldiers arrived to escort Mohbad to the stage where he performed. After the performance, as he returned to the car, area boys surrounded them, demanding money. Mohbad responded angrily that he had no money and threatened to beat them. Fidelis advised him not to alight from the car, warned that the crowd could harm him. That despite protests from his wife and friend, Mohbad insisted on coming down. The wife, seeking to calm the situation, transferred 71,000 naira to Fidelis' account. He and one of Mohbad's brothers went to withdraw the money, which was then distributed, 10K each to the area boys. The police and the soldiers, although it is to the area boys, the police and soldiers, although his disagreement over the amount given escalated Mohbad's anger again. IW16 testified that Mohbad opened the door and hit his friend with it, then later stepped out and began physically attacking the friend. During the altercation, Mohbad's hand struck the vehicle glass, breaking it and causing him to bleed. Though there was visible blood on the car's foot mat, no medical attention was provided at the time. The group returned to Mohbad's residence without visiting a hospital or pharmacy. He further told the court that while driving back, a journey of about 1 to 2 hours, Mohbad and his wife had another intense quarrel in Yoruba. The wife allegedly insulted Mohbad, calling him a thief and a useless person. Mohbad reportedly threatened to beat her, prompting the driver to plead with him to remain calm. On arrival at home around 1 a.m., Mohbad exited the car. Fidelis, concerned about the broken glass and not having access codes to re-enter the estate, decided to spend the night in the vehicle outside the gate. At about 3 a.m., three of Mohbad's associates knocked on his window requesting to use another vehicle, Mohbad's own, to buy medicine because the injured hand was still bleeding. Fidelis declined as his fuel was low. They left using Mohbad's vehicle. The next morning, around 8 to 11 a.m., Fidelis knocked repeatedly on the gate. Eventually, the wife came out. She was dressed casually and appeared to be calling someone, possibly a repairman. Fidelis asked about Mohbad's condition and she replied that he would be fine. She also arranged for someone to fix the broken vehicle glass. IW16 stated that from the time Mohbad sustained the injury, approximately 11:30 p.m., to the time he left the house around noon the next day, there was no record of Mohbad visiting a hospital or receiving professional medical help. No nurse arrived and no first aid was given. According to his account, the next day, Tuesday, around 9 a.m., Fidelis received a strange call from someone who advised him to report to the police station. When he called back, the number didn't go through. Later that afternoon, his agents informed him via Facebook that Mohbad had died. IW16 described this as a shocking and distressing revelation. Under cross-examination by Abiodun Kolawole, IW16 confirmed he had been driving for over 20 years, that he picked up Mohbad on a Sunday and acknowledged that at the point of pickup, Mohbad appeared healthy, happy, and was playing with his child. He testified that the journey was initially peaceful but turned tense after the performance, that he observed Mohbad sweating unusually inside a cold car with the AC running. He described the argument between Mohbad and his wife as harsh, not friendly. He witnessed the scuffle post-performance, noting that Mohbad attacked his friend, who did not retaliate, that blood was seen on the car's footmat, but due to night time, he could not determine whether it was gushing or dripping. He confirmed that after dropping off Mohbad, he did not hear any arguments inside the house while sleeping in his car. He reiterated that Mohbad was not treated for about 15 hours after sustaining the injury. Cross-examination by Kabir Akingbolu, IW16, acknowledged that Mohbad was an adult capable of making his own medical decisions. He admitted that the wife suggested going to a hospital, but Mohbad declined. He considered that the wife took initiative by transferring money to avoid conflicts and also asked about nearby hospitals. However, he also reiterated as a wife or even as a girlfriend, she should have taken further steps to get him to a hospital. He clarified a previous comment suggesting that if he were in Mohbad's position, he would have reacted violently to the level of verbal abuse from the wife. He further confirmed to the court that he did not personally see Mohbad the morning after the incident, only the wife. He denied social media rumors that Mohbad tried to throw the baby off Third Mainland Bridge. He clarified that though the wife suggested treatment, no hospital or nurse was involved for over 10 to 15 hours after the injury. He testified that Mohbad's friend was not in the car when they returned home and that the soldier/police who escorted Mohbad after the performance did not follow them back. He witnessed an incident where the wife grabbed Mohbad's shirt, causing his neck chain to break. Mohbad later refused to keep the chain. Mr. Fidelis Esampo's testimony painted a detailed picture of the final hours he spent with Mohbad, from a relatively normal performance trip, escalating tensions, physical confrontation, delayed medical response, and ultimately an unexplained death that left him deeply shocked. His statement highlighted a visible injury that went untreated for a prolonged period, emotional tension between the deceased and his spouse, a lack of urgency or follow-through in assessing medical help, his own efforts to mediate and later investigate the situation out of concern. Witness Dr. Owala Chigozie, Perez Hospital, IW17. Guys, let's keep on tapping. Let's keep on tapping. Let's get to 1M before I finish. Witness Dr. Owala Chigozie, Perez Hospital, IW17. Examination in chief. Guys, please let's back up. Dr. Owala Chigozie testified that he had no prior relationship with the deceased, Ilerioluwa Aloba, also known as Mohbad, before the day he encountered him at Perez Hospital. On the day in question, Mohbad was brought into the hospital already lifeless, according to the accounts of the people who brought him. Upon receiving the patient, the medical team of Perez Hospital immediately commenced cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR. He confirmed that oxygen and emergency procedures were administered as required under professional protocol. IW17 further explained that despite all resuscitative efforts, Mohbad showed no signs of life and he was subsequently confirmed dead on arrival. He noted that there was no evidence of anaphylactic reaction, such as or tongue swelling, rashes, or cyanosis typically associated with severe allergic responses. He added that the body bore no visible bruises or physical injuries at the time of examination at Perez Hospital. Upon further inquiry, IW17 stated that his medical documentation was completed at the time of presentation and the appropriate entries were made on the hospital's death register and records. He maintained that the persons who brought in the deceased included a young lady believed to be his wife or partner and a few male companions. They were all visibly distressed. Cross-examination by Mr. Wahab Shitu San, lead counsel to the deceased father. Question: did the deceased exhibit any sign of life when brought in? Answer: no. He was brought in lifeless. All emergency measures failed. Question: were there signs of inquiry, bruises, or violence? Answer: no. No signs of injury or bruises were observed externally. Question: was there any reaction that suggested poisoning or allergy? Answer: no. There was no rashes, no tongue or facial swelling, nothing that indicated an anaphylactic reaction. Question: was any toxicological test carried out? Answer: no, since the patient was brought in dead and we are not a forensic center, no such test was conducted. By Mrs. Kolawole, counsel to the African Women Lawyers Association. Question: did the person who brought him explain what happened before they arrived? Answer: they only said he collapsed after being given an injection at home by a nurse. No details of the medication were known to me at the time. Question: was it reported to the police? Answer: as a rule, we register all deaths, but I cannot say specifically whether a police report was made at that time. It is usually the responsibility of the next of kin of those who brought in the deceased to notify police if needed. By Mr. Akinpelu Ogumbono, counsel to the wife. Question: did the young woman presumed wife appear shocked or distressed? Answer: yes. She was crying and confused, like the rest of them. Question: was any attempt made to notify lawsuits or refer the case? Answer: no, because at the point we declared him dead, there was no further treatment or referral to be made. Question: was an ambulance used? Answer: no ambulance brought the deceased. He was brought in a private vehicle. Dr. Oala Chigoze stated that Perez Hospital was not involved in any prior treatment of the deceased. The hospital only encountered him when he was already dead or beyond resuscitation. He He reaffirmed that no prior medication history was available at the time, no signs of trauma, allergy, or poisoning were found upon immediate physical examination. The hospital performed basic resuscitative procedures as a last effort. Death was pronounced at presentation and the body was not admitted into the hospital's morgue. He did not sign a death certificate nor was he responsible for the final autopsy. He confirmed that the deceased body was taken back into the same vehicle it arrived in and was never left in the care of the hospital overnight. He provided clarity that Mohbad was brought in dead or nearly dead. Perez Hospital did not administer any injections or treatment prior to collapse. There was no visible injuries or signs of foul play. The cause of death could not be medically ascertained based solely on his visual and physical examination. The timeline of death appeared to precede hospital arrival. He concluded by affirming his neutrality, medical ethics, and commitment to record-keeping standards. By way of address, all parties rested their case on the testimonies of all the witnesses called. The inquest was further adjourned for its verdict. Brief recap of the witness testimonies. This inquest was convened in accordance with Section 14 and 15 of the Lagos State Coroner System Law 2015. The law mandates the coroner court to investigate and determine the cause and circumstances of any sudden, violent, suspicious, or unnatural death within its jurisdiction. The death of Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Aloba, popularly known professionally as Mohbad, triggered significant public concern and social unrest, necessitating a formal coroner's inquest. The deceased was alleged to have died on 12 September 2023 at the Kuramed Hospital, Lekki, Phase 1, Lagos State. It was alleged that the death followed complications arising from the injection administered by the nurse under circumstances involving the medical intervention and possible psychosocial distress. The inquest was convened to determine the identity of the deceased, time and place and manner of death. Proceedings commenced following a formal request addressed to the Chief Coroner of Lagos State, Honorable Justice M.A. Dada. This court recognizes its fact-finding jurisdiction under Rule 3 of the Coroner System Law 2015. The coroner is not empowered to determine criminal guilt or civil liability, but may make recommendations for public interest and justice to forestall similar future occurrences. The inquest commenced on 29 September 2023 with a preliminary meeting and proceeding with a total of 19 witnesses appearing before the court. According to the witness testimonies, Mohbad had been involved in multiple incidents of assault and psychological stress in the months leading to his death. On 25th June 2023, the deceased was alleged to have been assaulted at Elegushi Beach during a music video shoot, an incident which prompted a formal report to a police station at the Lagos Island, name not mentioned, by the Jibami and Darosha, an alleged threat to life, assault, and destruction of property. No formal arrest or prosecution was made at that time. Further testimonies presented before the court revealed that the deceased also had ongoing disputes with his former record label, Malian Music, Aziz Fashola, aka Naira IW12, and Samson Balogun Eletu, aka Sam Larry, IW15. Witnesses testified to the deceased growing tense sense of fear, mistrust, and public isolation. Subsequent testimonies from the deceased wives, IW4 Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, aka Dijibami, IW2, and Ayobami Sodiq, aka Spending, IW5, confirmed the presence of ongoing emotional instability, paranoid, and verbal outbursts from the deceased, symptoms consistent with prolonged psychological trauma. It was further stated that on 10th of September 2023, after the show at Korodu, the deceased had a physical altercation with a friend and sustained a hand injury. Despite complaints of pain and bleeding sustained from the injury, no immediate hospital treatment was sought. On Tuesday, September 12, 2023, Mohbad died under sudden and suspicious circumstances following the administration of an injection by a nurse. His untimely death sparked widespread public outcry, leading to the investigation of legal and forensic experts, police investigators, and concerned civil organizations. Multiple petitions were received from legal representatives of the family, entertainment industry, and human rights advocates, prompting the initiation of this formal inquest. This coroner, on the 26th day of June 2024, gave an order for the postmortem review of the body samples of the deceased retained in the custody of the Chief Medical Examiner of the Lagos State Hospital in view of the application by the deceased father, IW1, and dated the 26th day of April 2024. This coroner, after due consideration, granted the alternative prayer of the applicant for leave to conduct its own independent postmortem examination on the body. Samples of the deceased, principally to ensure fair hearing, Section 26 of the Coroner System Law of 2015. On the 11th and 25th day of April 2025, the second autopsy report was led in evidence by the expert forensic examiner Dr. Unwan Okereke Eze, who has been serving as the chief consultant forensic pathologist at University College Hospital, UCH Ibadan. He made his appearance particularly weighty. Based on the oral and documentary evidence presented during the inquest, this court will now deliver its verdict as to who the deceased was, when and where he died, and how he came by his death, pursuant to Section 14, 15, and 26 of the Coroner's System Law of Lagos State 2015. Identity of the deceased. Who? The deceased was Ilerioluwa Oladimeji Promise Aloba, a 36-year-old Nigerian male, professionally known as Mohbad. Date and place of death, in brackets, when and where. He died on Tuesday, 12th September 2023, in Lekki, Lagos State, and was brought to Pyramid Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. Manner of death. How? Prior to the death of the deceased, Mohbad had suffered a hand laceration caused by punching the window of a Prado SUV following an argument with his friend Prime Boy. 2 days later, on 12 September 2023, a nurse, Feishayo Ogidengbe, administered a cocktail of injections, tetanus toxoid, ceftriaxone, and paracetamol. Shortly after, the deceased vomited, began convulsing, and lost consciousness. Despite being rushed to the hospital, he was declared dead. Cause of death. From the medical reports of the pathologist and the toxicologist, Professor Suyemi recorded the cause of death as unascertained. However, based on circumstantial and medical considerations, he suggested a possible anaphylactic reaction to an injected substance. Though this could not be confirmed, as specific biological markers like serum tryptase degrade quickly and could not be assessed 8 to 9 days postmortem. Dr. Nwan Okereke Eze acknowledged the discrepancy with the first autopsy, which had detected diphenhydramine and paracetamol, but attributed this to tissue degradation over time. He stressed the challenges of forensic pathology in tropical environments. IW14 considered the cause of death as anatomically undetermined. Both expert witnesses confirmed that the cause of death remains officially unascertained, with medical misadventure as the possible manner. Coroner's observation or opinion. Conduct of Nurse Ogedengbe. The coroner's court heard the testimony of Miss Ogedengbe Faisal, who was summoned by a witness summons. According to accounts, she observed swelling of Mohbad's right arm without conducting any formal diagnostic assessment. She proceeded to administer 3 injections in succession. Tetanus injection intramuscularly into the upper left arm, paracetamol for pain relief, ceftriaxone, a broad-spectrum antibiotic. During the testimony of the witness, it was confirmed and admitted by the nurse that she is not a certified registered nurse, nor a doctor or licensed pharmacist. She administered injections without conducting a medical diagnosis. She was unaware of key side effects of ceftriaxone and paracetamol, which were itemized in court as including vomiting, dizziness, diarrhea, rash, allergic reactions including anaphylaxis, and possible kidney damage. IW11 considered that she did not assess the full risk prior to treatment and that she should have asked questions about allergies before administering the injections. She further confirmed that she left the deceased to get hydrocortisone. The conduct of the nurse, Ms. Ogedengbe Feishaya's evidence placed her at the center of the final medical intervention and administered to the deceased. Conduct of the father. Mr. Joseph Aloba, the father of the deceased, gave lengthy testimony in court. It is clear from his evidence that while he had a formative role in the deceased's early life, his knowledge of the deceased's activities and well-being in later years was intermittent and inconsistent. From 2019, when the deceased moved in with the record label associates, the father admitted to having little contact with him. This gap in contact extended into critical periods in the deceased's life. Particularly during his mental health crisis and post-record label distress. Of utmost concern was Mr. Aloba's conduct in the immediate aftermath of his son's death. He orchestrated a hasty burial of the deceased on the same night of his death without the procurement of any medical certificate of death, coroner's authorization, or autopsy. He further admitted that he did not seek to verify who confirmed the deceased death, nor did he request any form of forensic investigation. The hospital reportedly refused to accept the corpse for lack of documentation, yet Mr. Aloba proceeded with the interment nonetheless. Evidence also showed that Davido contributed 2 million naira for the burial, with 1 million naira received directly by Mr. Aloba. Yet the burial was conducted without dignity, order, or consultation with key family members. The gravesite was described as remote and vulnerable, resulting in public outrage and suspicion. The father's actions, while perhaps guided by cultural belief in early burial, reflected an absence of procedural responsibility, especially given the suspicion and unnatural circumstances of death. The court finds that Mr. Aloba's conduct was precipitous and obstructive to forensic clarity, potentially frustrating early investigative opportunities. His subsequent public allegations and accusations made without substantiating evidence cast further doubt in his credibility and motives. In circumstances where death appears unnatural or sudden in a young adult with no terminal illness, a father more invested in truth would have prioritized autopsy and legal process before burial. Conduct of the mother. Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, presented us a distraught and grieving parent. Presented as a distraught and grieving parent. Her testimony revealed a close emotional bond with her son and a clear awareness of his fears and challenges. She narrated that Mohbad often confided in her regarding threats to his life and instances of harassment, and even shared disturbing audio messages and visual evidence of physical injury. Despite this, she was not physically present at the time of her son's death and had no involvement in the burial proceedings. She expressed shock and heartbreak at the witness of her son's burial, lamenting that she was neither allowed to see the corpse properly nor informed of the medical details of his death. Her conduct was dignified and measured. However, her own awareness of the distress and threat faced by the deceased raises a question. Would more proactive steps have been taken to protect her son earlier or to ensure his compliance were documented formally? Conduct of the wife. The deceased wife, Mohbad, presented detailed and consistent evidence regarding the days leading up to the Mohbad's death. She was present during the incident at the Ikorodu show, witnessed his hand injury, and assisted in bringing in the nurse who ultimately administered the injection. She described Mohbad as a man under constant fear, living with trauma and emotional instability caused by persistent harassment and bullying from his former record label associates. However, while her account was clear and compelling, certain omissions in conduct warrant scrutiny. First, the deceased was treated at home by an uncertified auxiliary nurse, whose competence and training were later brought into question. As the closest person to the deceased and given his status as a public figure, the decision to seek home treatment, especially by someone whose credentials were unclear, appears negligent, even driven by fear or preference from the deceased. Secondly, Omowumi was a direct eyewitness to the medical emergency, but did not insist on calling emergency services or ensuring proper ambulance care when the deceased began vomiting and convulsing. Multiple household members panicked and the transport was chaotic. Most crucially, after the death of the deceased, Mrs. Aloba Omowumi was notably silent in preventing or challenging the hasty burial. Despite having lived with him as his wife and mother of his child, her outcry regarding harassment, abuse, and industry threats surfaced forcefully only after the burial and public outrage had commenced. This raises the question, why was her voice absent when it mattered most? Why was there no insistence on a death certificate or legal inquiry before burial? While she may have been overwhelmed, emotionally distressed, or pushed aside by the father, it was incumbent upon her as wife, next of kin, and the last person with the deceased to speak, object, or at the very least document the procedural irregularities at the point of death and burial. The wife, though credible and emotionally invested, bears a measure of moral and circumstantial responsibility for the silence surrounding the death and hasty burial. A more assertive protective response was expected given her position. Conduct of the deceased. The deceased was a 26-year-old musical artist. Mohbad's final days were emotionally turbulent. The altercation at the Ikorodu show, the hand injury, the visible agitation, and eventually medical treatment also show a man who was physically injured, mentally distressed, and tragically undeserved. His refusal to seek hospital treatment and decision to accept injections from an uncertified auxiliary nurse was reflections of both personal vulnerability and a glaring failure of support systems around him. The deceased was a vulnerable person failed by the music industry, medical caregivers, family dynamics, and public systems. His death underscores the necessity of timely mental health intervention and legal protection for young public figures facing threats. Evidence from family members and colleagues indicates that Mohbad lived under sustained psychological distress, reportedly due to persistent harassment, threats, and physical assaults from individuals, including Sam Larry, and persons connected to his former record label, while no direct link was found between these persons and his immediate death. Conclusion. Based on the totality of evidence, I am unable to certify a medical cause of death. However, the preponderance of the evidence supports that the death was sudden, occurring within minutes to hours after administration of injectable drugs by an unlicensed auxiliary nurse. There was no natural disease identified to explain the death. There was no evidence of homicide or deliberate foul play, but medical negligence is evident. The rapid burial without a proper investigation, medical certificate, or police involvement significantly obstructed justice. Pursuant to Section 15, Subsection 1, Subsection C of the Coroner System Law of 2015. Recommendations. In accordance with Section 39 of the Coroner's Law of Lagos State, this court recommends the following: prosecution of unlicensed medical personnel. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution (DPP) should commence appropriate criminal proceedings against Feishai Ogedengbe for unlawful medical practice, gross negligence. 2. Mental health and harassment redress. Given the overwhelming testimonies of persistent harassment, threats, and bullying, notably by Sam Larry and Naira Marley, the Nigerian Police Force and Human Rights Commission should investigate all prior reports or petition by Mohbad regarding intimidation or assault, clarify why such complaints did not result in prosecutorial actions or protective relief, consider instituting laws or regulations safeguarding artists and public figures from organized bullying within the entertainment industry. Number 3, on family responsibility. Cultural beliefs must never override legal protocols. Where deaths appear suspicious or unnatural, deaths of young, healthy individuals must mandatorily be investigated before burial. Clear statutory guidelines should be established to determine who has the legal authority over a deceased body, particularly where the deceased lived independently with a spouse or partner. Number 4, on spousal duties. The spouse or next of kin must be educated on legal recourses, including rights to demand a postmortem, object to hasty burial, and report procedural violations to authority. Number 5, on emergency medical response. Auxiliary nurses without full certifications must not be permitted to administer intravenous or intramuscular injections, especially in life-threatening situations or to known allergic patients. Emergency care units and ambulatory services should be readily available and properly publicized. Number 6, on handling death of public figures. The Lagos State Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, and relevant agencies should develop a joint death response protocol for public figures to prevent premature burials, ensure autopsies, and manage public information responsibly. Number 7, review of death reporting procedures. The Lagos State government should implement public education and policy reforms to ensure No burial is allowed without a coroner's certificate, medical cause of death, and unlawful police clearance. Strict enforcement of penalties for unauthorized burial practices. Final remarks. During the course of this inquest, the coroner's court took note of numerous false, misleading, and malicious narratives propagated across various social media platforms regarding the circumstances of the deceased death and the nature of the ongoing proceedings. Some individuals and influencers, okay, some individuals and influencers without attendance at court or access to verified facts engaged in spreading distorted and fabricated claims about evidence that was never tendered before this court, declaring presumptive judgments on the guilt or innocence of private individuals, including witnesses and family members, thereby endangering the public peace and due process. This conduct misled the public, intimidated witnesses, and abused the court's self consideration. The cautious and restrained silence of the coroner during an ongoing fact finding process is out of respect for legal procedures and the rights of all parties. The court observed an alarming trend of online commentators and bloggers setting up private panels, soliciting public opinions, and making unfounded allegations against persons not proven guilty under law. Such conduct amounts to trial by media, disrespect to the legal process, unlawful interference in the statutory inquest under sections 14 to 32 of the Coroner System Law of Lagos State. This court will not be used as a spectacle or entertainment forum. Inquests are solemn, statutory exercises of public responsibility, not tools for clout chasing or narrative manipulation. The court issues the following formal warning and advisory to social media influencers, content creators, and the general public. Freedom of expression is not a license for defamation or obstruction of justice. Persons who misrepresent court proceedings may face consequences under the Cybercrimes Prohibitions Preventions etc. Act 2015 and relevant defamation statutes. Social media platforms must exercise responsibility in verifying content posted under trending legal topics. Unchecked circulation of falsehood risks incitement and may attract regulatory sanctions. Individuals who spread misinformation about active judicial proceedings may be held liable for contempt, interference with judicial authority, or incitement under Nigerian law. The public is urged to await formal findings, verdicts, and publications by recognized judicial authorities and to resist the temptation of engaging in sensationalism or hearsay justice. The court acknowledges the public interest in the death of the deceased and demands and commends those who expressed their concern lawfully. However, public vigilance must be balanced with respect for truth, restraint, and the presumption of innocence. Let it be recorded that the integrity of this inquest was preserved, not by public opinion. This cannot be crowdsourced. It must be earned, proven, and delivered by process, not popularity. The death of Ileri Oluwaladimeji Aloba, aka Mohbad, is a tragic loss of a promising young life. While this inquest may not fully satisfy every question raised by the public, it has provided clarity on the immediate circumstances surrounding his death, exposed systemic lapses in medical practice and institutional oversight, negligence, youth exorbitance, negligence in parental care, and as identified areas where reform is urgently required. It is the hope of this coroner's court that the findings herein shall not only serve the interest of justice but also inspire structural improvements in public health, legal accountability, and protection of vulnerable citizens in the entertainment industry. Appreciation. I must commend all councils who participated in this long and difficult journey. The Council of the States, Public Lawyer Neon, the Council for the States, Council for the Respondents, Council for the Father and the Family, Council for the Wife and Child, counsel for Perez Hospital, and all the interested members of the public diligently following the proceedings. I want to also appreciate the fans of the late singer, late Ilere Oluwa Aloba, local and international, for seeking the truth. I hope with this knowledge comes peace, and the deceased will be given a proper and befitting burial. May the deceased, Ilere Oluwa Oladimeji Alodba, soul rest in peace. I say thank you to everyone, dated this 11th day of July 2025, signed by the magistrate Corona Shutobi Adidai. Uh, do I need to read the appendices? Okay. Okay. Appendices. The following appendices support the findings, testimonies, and conclusions written in this report. They contain referenced materials, legal instruments, and legal documentation reviewed during the inquest. ASP Mohammed Yusuf, State CID Homicide Section, ASP Oderinde Gafar, Joseph Aloba, father of the deceased, Ajishebiri Sultan Ayobami, DJ, Mrs. Abosede Aloba, mother of the deceased, Cynthia Mohomi Aloba, wife of the deceased, Aloba Adragbemi, brother of the deceased, Dr. Richard Somari, forensic examiner, Ayobami Sodiq Spending, Ibrahim Omo Owoduni, Prime Boy, Professor Sunday S. Shuyemi, pathologist, Boluwatife Adeyemi, Darosha Feisha Ogedengbe, auxiliary nurse, Aziz Fashola Eke Naramali, Olusonya Falade, deceased lawyer, Dr. Won Okerekeze, Samson Letu, Sam Larry. Do you have any other thing? Fidelis Esampon, hired lawyer, hired driver, Dr. Wola Chigoze Perez Hospital, um, who is this? Perez Hospital doctor, petitions and legal representation. Petitioners included Fumi Falana San, Festus Ogun, and Chief Yomi Aliyu San. Appearances were made on behalf of the deceased father and the deceased family members, including his wife. The state was represented by the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, Entertainment Community, African Women Lawyers, Nigerian Bar Association, Ikorodu branch. Respondents were also duly represented. Appendix B, exhibits and documents reviewed. What do we have? Corona authorization for autopsy, police preliminary investigation report, reference but not admitted, pathology report from Lagos State University Teaching Hospital, toxicology report from Lagos DNA and Forensic Center, toxicology report, second opinion, University of Ibadan Teaching Hospital, travel records of Aziz Fashola and Samson Balogun, witnesses written depositions, and social media exhibits reference but not officially admitted. Appendix C, legal references, Lagos State Corona System Law 2015. These are just the appendixes they used and also the evidences. So it's all there, and it stopped in page. Okay, there's also this page for appearances. Dr. Wahab Shitu San, or Salusi Oluyemi Victor, Adegboye, Adegbemi Ayokunmi, MK Orire Esquire for the father and the family. Okay, MK Orire Esquire of the deceased, Kabir Akingbolu, Abiodun Kolawole Esquire. These were all the appearances. So it was dated and signed by the Honorable Coroner, the Magistrate Shotobi Taufika Tadidai, signed on the 11th day of July 2025, and it ended in page 81. Thank you for listening. But in your don't tell me you slept off. Oh. Sister Cindy, are you there? Thank you, everybody. Olivia, right? Oh, yeah. Can we have people to comment? Sister Cindy, I'm going to start me. Oh, Great. We entered 1 million likes. That's good. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for that. That's great motivation. Inshallah, tomorrow, um, we still have the CTCs of Darosha, the real this thing. You know, this one is like the
There
verdict.
will be few minutes. I can contribute just a little, just few minutes.
Okay, okay, no problem. So we still have them available, but we only decided to read the final verdict. That's the last inquest they did. So this is the CTC we just read. Um, I don't know. Well, was there anything new? Mayor 25, you can come up now. Sister Cindy, I think people want to come up. Or is there any moderator or are people requesting? Okay, Elizabeth is coming up.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah. Good evening. Please continue. I want to take water. I mean,
Uh-huh. Well done, Lagbaja. You did very well. Thank you very much. Um, to be honest, there's really not much to say. It just shows that these guys that have been going to the inquest, they've just been dishing out false information and all that. Although I believe what you read is just like a summary of the most important facts from the case. Because I believe what's her name? The magistrate, she didn't care about the what's it called? Beer parlor gossip, the beer parlor talk. She was only interested in the main facts of the case, and that's what we got. So I don't know, there's really nothing much to say. I just noticed few points. They kept on shouting that, the driver said he was called in the morning that Mohbad was dead. With what you read now, he said, you read that the driver said he was called in the morning that report yourself. That's it. Then in the afternoon, just as the whole public heard, he was told that Mohbad died on Tuesday. So that makes sense, to be honest. But all them, what's it called? What's that lady called? Munjoluwa, or what's her name? They all went to the inquest and came out to say the driver said he died in the morning, or he heard he died in the morning, which is not right. What else did I notice? I noticed that the magistrate said Wumi is credible and Joseph Aloba is not credible. No wonder she received so much curses from Josie Tim. Lagbaja, are you there?
yeah, sure, I'm here. I'm here.
Did you get that part?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I saw what you said. She
Like,
commended her, and I think the gbas that Wumi collected was like, Omo, don't you know you're the next of kin? That day you should have like,
exactly. She said,
you shouldn't have allowed this man go to bury. You should have even documented. You should have
yeah,
shouted. You shouldn't be out after the burial. You should have come out. It should have been that day. Gong, 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 gong.
exactly.
That's what she was giving lashes.
And she said, with what Josie said, I don't want to say she has been saying the rubbish she's doing online, because I believe she's just about what's been said in her court. But she said, with his testimony, he is not credible. As in, that part threw me off. Like, if the magistrate can notice that this man is not credible, so don't you think the police would obviously see the rubbish he's doing. The government can see that this man is just chatting shit and he's just looking for how to put someone else in prison who shouldn't be. Do you understand? We've always said it that the police, the government, they can see through this guy. Like, is so obvious to see. Because how can you be saying, you are saying you saw pool of blood? There's no sensible human being that will see pool of blood and the first thing he will think of doing is to carry the boy for burial. And as Darosha and everybody else that testified said, he wanted to bury him that night. That's what the magistrate concluded. He wanted to bury that boy that night. But of course, some